Welcome to our Sunday question and answer program. Please go ahead with your call.
Good afternoon, Chris, and thanks for today's teaching. I would like you to now go to Romans 4:17.
Romans 4, verse 17. As it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations, before him whom he believed, even God, who quickeneth the dead, and calleth those things which be not as though they were.
Now, if we'll glance down at the last sentence there, things which be not as though they were. Now I have some cross-references, I believe, that will support this phrase or citation or sentence. If we'll now go to Romans 9:26, followed by Hosea 1:10.
Romans 9:26, and I'll start reading in verse 25 because it mentions Hosea. As he saith also in Hosea, I will call them my people, which were not my people, and I will call her beloved, which was not beloved. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there shall they be called the children of the living God. And then you want to look at Hosea 1, verse 10. Yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God.
Okay, well, that all tie into what we have talked about in that latter part of 4:17. Will we have a better understanding?
Well, yeah, wherever we find prophecy in the Bible, where God is declaring what he will do or what will come to pass, then this verse will be in view. He's calling those things which be not as though they were. So he said to Abraham, I'll make you a father of many nations, and that had to do with the seed who we know points to all of God's elect that are in Christ. And yet God very intentionally said, I will, future tense, make thee fruitful, and I will develop nations or kings of thee. And all of that points to God's intent, his obligation that he has obligated himself with to save all of his elect who were named in the Lamb's Book of Life, and they will be the seed. They will be the nations. Remember, it says in Revelation chapter 21, verse 24, and the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it. Those are the nations that Abraham is said to be the father of many nations, the nations of them which are saved. And that's what God has in view, because he makes reference to it in verse 17, as it is written, I have made thee a father of many nations. And then in the following verse, verse 18, who against hope believed in hope that he might become the father of many nations. It has to do with God completing his salvation of the nations of them which are saved, and he calleth those things which be not, because they were not yet saved at the time he changed Abraham's name, as though they were. That is, it's such a sure thing. It's absolutely going to happen. And this is one thing we can now look back on and see that it did happen, and yet it took thousands of years to finally be fulfilled. But God called it before it occurred, and then he fulfilled it. And that's what the statement is really addressing, that God prophesies. For instance, he's prophesied not only of the seed, but of the land, that there will be an eternal dwelling place for the seed. And now we've waited thousands of years for God to fulfill that. And yet we could say the same thing. He called that which is not, the new earth. It is not yet in existence, as though it were. As though it were, because it's a certainty once we take into consideration that God cannot lie, that he fulfills every promise, and so he has sworn that it will come to pass, and so it will. But the important point is that it is not yet come to pass. When God says, for instance, in Isaiah 65, verse 17, "For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind." Well, God has stated it, and it will surely happen. And again, the second part of Romans 4:17 applies. But the fact is, it is not yet in existence. And other information in the Bible reveals to us it is a future promise that the Lord will fulfill. That is not the situation with the statement that Christ is the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. That is not pointing to a future point in time, but that's a statement indicating it has happened. As a matter of fact, it's past that he's the Lamb slain from the foundation of the world. It's directing our attention to a past point. We can't say in time because it's before time, in eternity past, but it's a matter-of-fact declaration this has taken place. And it's not a prophecy, in other words, of some future event to come, even though there is an aspect to it as far as God sending the Messiah to show forth these things. But as far as the actual atoning work of Christ, it was finished, it was accomplished.